Hello and welcome to North Country Matters. My name is Donna Seymour and I'm a member of the St. Lawrence County branch of the American Association of University Women, one of the co-sponsors of this program. Today we have Valarie Dana and Caitlin Hill from the St. Lawrence Valley Renewal House in the studio with us. We're talking about sexual assault awareness. With us in the studio is my co-host, Kirnie, an educator and an AUW member. Well, Valarie and Caitlin, welcome back to North Country Matters. Bess, welcome back. It's nice to have all three of you in the studio, and we have a pretty serious topic to talk about today. Valarie is the child advocate and an educator with Renewal House, and Caitlin is the legal advocate with Renewal House. So they can talk a little bit about what the work they do from their perspectives and about Renewal House in general. April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Millions of New Yorkers are impacted by abuse. In fact, New York is number 3 in the country concerning the demand for domestic violence services. Val, would you give us a picture of the extent of sexual assault in the country in terms of some of the numbers and some of the impact?
Absolutely. Upon researching this topic, I found that approximately every 2 minutes, someone in the United States is sexually assaulted. Breaking down kind of the age groups, children, 1 in 5 girls and 1 in 20 boys will be victims of sexual assault. And the most vulnerable age that was found was between the ages of 7 and 13. And then it kind of bumps up that students, 1 in 4 women and 1 in 6 males will be sexually assaulted before the age of 16. And then in college, it's 1 in 5 women approximately and 1 in 16 males.
Those are pretty horrific numbers.
Yeah. Caitlin, how do these numbers compare to the realities in St. Lawrence County, and are the demographics similar?
We believe the numbers to be comparable, but I do have to say that rape is one of the most underreported crimes, so it is difficult to tell how our county really stacks up. If you go onto the different college websites in the area, we're a unique county kind of in that we have 4 colleges in our area, and you can find the crime statistics on their websites, but a lot of times they will be less than, 10 reports of sexual assault. I think a lot of campuses are maybe around 2 or 3. So we know that that's definitely low, and we know that there are more. It's just a matter of who's coming forward. Anyone can be a victim. Rape does not discriminate against any race, age, or gender really, but we do have some local stats. We just have our spring newsletter coming out in April here. It will be in the mail shortly. And for 2014, we saw a total of 899 clients, and of those, 201 were victims of sexual assault. And then broken down by gender, we saw 110 females and 15 males, and then 76 children. And throughout the entire year, we've had over 4,000 hotline calls. So we know that the numbers are definitely staggering. And like I said, it is underreported, but we even just have people calling and just wanting to know what their options are. And that's why it's really important to look at the hotline calls, because somebody could be a victim, but may not know what their options are, may be afraid to report, may be afraid to let the campus know, to let the community know, to let whoever know. So they could call anonymously just to get some information from us, and they definitely do that.
And that may not lead to an actual report, but
On the
obviously
campus itself,
somebody
right.
has been impacted.
And sometimes maybe people come forward to us that are college students yet not necessarily report it on the
Right.
college campus. So that website that has the reports up there might not necessarily state the one that may have came to our agency, but not the campus themselves.
Right.
And we're a confidential agency, so every time somebody does come to us as a victim, we're 100% confidential. We only talk to other agencies about their case if they give us written permission to do so, and if they would like us to advocate on their behalf.
So that'll never appear on a campus website unless they decide to go through that process on the campus.
Yes, correct.
Right, okay. So Val, let's talk a little bit about the services that Renewal House offers to victims of sexual assault. I know you've got a broad range of things that you do for folks, so
And
what...
it definitely is case by case.
Right.
As Kate said, we're completely confidential. So what happens, in our office between us and whoever we're speaking with stays there. Our services are free. We offer a wide range as far as if someone was looking for peer-to-peer counseling, we offer that based on whatever the incident may have been and whatever they're looking for as far as their healing process. We can also, as Kate mentioned too, help them report if they wanted to either the police agencies that are local or on campus and help them through that process, because as we know, that process is changing with Title IX. So we can kind of be there with them and help them understand that process and be an advocate for them. If they choose to go to the hospital for an exam, we can go with them to that as well. And generally, if they present to the hospital, we are called. An advocate goes, and we also call a SANE nurse that we have. And she kind of makes sure if there's someone available, they get there as well. So they not only have a SANE nurse who's really kind of trained in this and has a really great bedside manner and knows kind of what the exam is and how to perform it pretty quickly. She also will have, or he will also have, an advocate from Renewal House there by their side to kind of go through the emotional support side of things. We can also go to court with them and accompany them for orders of protection if that's something that they might need help with.
You know, you mentioned about having a nurse who's trained in this, and you mentioned how many victims are male in the county as well as females. In the event that there is a male victim, do you have a male nurse who's trained to do this, or do they still end up with kind of the luck of the draw about who might be available?
I think all of our staff right now are actually, our SANE nurses are female. So they could always, if it was a male who didn't feel comfortable, they could definitely request that, you know, a male nurse that might be in the ER or a doctor could perform that exam instead if they chose. But I know that what we have on staff right now, I believe, are all females.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's never anything they would have to go forward with unless they wanted and felt 100% comfortable doing so.
So you have a wide range of free services.
Yes.
Tell me how budget cuts have impacted your ability to deliver, and also maybe you could touch on the role of volunteers.
Sure.
Well, we have had some significant budget cuts as of October. We used to have a staff of 10, and we're now down to a staff of 8, which may not sound like a lot, but it definitely is, and I think now we're definitely feeling it. You have to remember, Renewal House has been around since about 1980, and we started off with just doing the domestic violence services and didn't pick up the sexual assault services until 2010. And with those sexual assault services, we did get extra staff with that, but now we're back to the staff that we had before, just doing the domestic violence services. We still have the sexual assault services. Like I said, our numbers, we saw over 200 sexual assault victims this year, and we're at the same staffing levels as we were before. So it's definitely impacting us drastically. We now have staff having to be on call one night a week, which before that was always covered by volunteers, but now we need to have, or a specific on-call advocate, but now every staff person has to be on call one night of the week. And I'm even noticing a difference just in my role as legal advocate, because one of the things that we do and that we pride ourselves on is helping victims navigate the family court system, and especially in reference to orders of protection. And with the help of the probation department, we accompany them to file this, what is called a family offense petition, for them to obtain an order of protection. And many times, by the time we get an appointment with the probation department, there may not be any staff available to go with that client. So I give them the option of, you know, you can take the earlier appointment time, and if you feel free to do it on your own, I can talk to you about it over the phone. I can help give you some information on how to prepare for that appointment. Or if you have the time and do want to wait maybe a week for an advocate to accompany you, you can do that. But I definitely leave it up to the client's hands as to what she would like to do. But I've noticed it drastically. I've had to just, transportation is one service that we provide also, and we really just cannot keep up with that. So many of our clients in this area, and because of the lack of public transportation, they need help. They need help getting to appointments. They need transportation, and that's something that we just really can't offer. Luckily, right now, we do have several interns, and they are godsends in that regards, and they definitely help us out with the transportation.
But of course, that ends at the end of the semester.
Right. And anybody can, well, I can't say anybody. If they've been previous clients, I think there has to be a year separation before they can come in and volunteer or be an intern. But we're always in need. We're always looking. I don't think we've ever really turned anybody away who's been interested, unless that year lapse wasn't there. But people can always come into our office and donate not only items, which we always have things on our website and wish lists in our newsletter as well, but they can donate their time. We have donations that are dropped off in, you know, bags, and it's amazing to see all of these bags and things come in. However, with our cuts, we ourselves as staff members are, you know, keeping up with our clients, so it's not always something we can get right to put away, so sometimes it piles up a little bit. So even donating a time, a few hours a day to go through donations, put them, out on our porch area, to donate time, as we said, on call, helping with that. It's not necessarily monetary things, people in our office helping us out. We do our own cleaning, our own lawn care, that's coming up. Everything, our own dishes and things like that in the office. And the way that works is we would put people in touch that were interested with our volunteer coordinator. Her name is Eva, and there's a 30-hour training she could talk to people about if they wanted to do more than just the office, kind of around the office work, if they wanted to actually get involved and work with victims.
So there's levels of that you can do.
And we're very good about working around people's schedules as well.
So, Val, I noticed that you were looking at the wish list part
Yes.
of your newsletter.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of things. We have, in addition to just our office itself, we have a 9-bed safe dwelling, so we're always looking for items like bath towels, washcloths, twin bedding. We're definitely in need of that. Any kind of non-perishable food items, cleaning and laundry supplies, household items, things like that. Our safe dwelling as well is not staffed, so we're not kind of like how hotels work where, someone goes in every day and can put the little mini shampoos and things. We give bottles and bigger things, so we always say, any of those things can help, toothbrushes, toothpaste, bigger items like that, so that we can give, families that may come in. So if we don't check in with them necessarily physically every day, we do check with them on the phone, but that they have those items and they're not running out in between visits.
And this newsletter is coming out quite quickly,
yes,
right?
I think we're hoping to get it out before tomorrow. Honestly, we weren't in the office today, but I think that they're trying to push it out.
Great.
And this is stuff that we do. I mean, we do have interns and we have people helping us, but we are folding these, we are sewing these, we are mailing them all out. We do everything. We're definitely an all hands on deck approach. And I can definitely say from experience, I mean, people just coming in and donating an hour of time a week to us can be so helpful. I mean, last summer I think we had a community member stop by and say, your lawn's looking a little crazy. Can I come in and mow that for you? Like, no offense. And I was like, no, thank you, none taken, please.
Absolutely.
We need that help. Because
and
it's
actually
just
tomorrow,
so hard.
I think, tomorrow's April 1st, we're having a group of Clarkson students come in, I think 20 of them, to do a bunch of work around the office. Yeah,
so we definitely appreciate the extra help.
Well, let's focus a little bit on sexual assault on college campuses. That's certainly been a big item in the news in the last 2 years, and we've seen a lot of attention being paid to that and a lot of different legislative and other kinds of solutions that have been proposed. Renewal House has memorandums of understanding, or MOUs, with the local colleges. Caitlin, what would typically be included in a MOU arrangement with a college?
Basically, memorandums of understanding point to the general specifics of how we are going to offer our services to the students and how they can be put in touch with us, and maybe referrals being made. Basically, how we can connect and reach out to students so that they can best access our services. So we will lay out the things that we provide, which are our general services like Val talked about. Counseling, legal accompaniment. I always like to focus on the home visits that we can provide because we can come to college campuses and meet with students on their campus, and we work with the counseling centers so that we're provided a private location to do that can be confidential also. And I think that's really important because a lot of college students may not have access to cars or vehicles and may not be able, maybe if you're on the Potsdam campus, you can't drive into Canton to access our services at our office. So we can definitely come to you. In addition to the services that we offer, we also can help them with their campus adjudication process. I've been involved in a number of these just recently over the past year or so, helping them navigate that process on campus, referring them to their Title IX coordinators, maybe even attending that meeting with them, because sometimes just having an advocate from the community can help empower them during that meeting as they're talking to these higher level officials about what's happened on campus. And like I said, there's a lot of times the hearings on campuses and the adjudication process in terms of the perpetrator, the alleged perpetrator. So the victim is allowed to go to those and is generally requested to go to those hearings, and we can accompany her, we can help her prepare for those. Things like that. And I do see a lot of colleges stepping up now with the new things that are happening in regards to New York State. We've had many of the campuses reach out to us and just say, hey, we need your help. We know you're experts in this. Come to our campus, help us. I mean, just in November, I was on a college campus doing a 2-hour training to the administration there in terms of victims, and this is what we're seeing, and this is how you can approach a victim, and this is why they may not want to report, and interviewing skills and things like that. And other campuses have definitely invited us to some of their trainings because they're getting some other bigger name people coming in and doing those trainings on the new Title IX things and things that are happening there. So it's definitely been very helpful.
You know, Caitlin, a question I'd like to follow up with you is, because so often a college student is coming here from away and something happens on the campus, it's all well and good while they're here and you're available to them. What happens when they go back home for the summer or for the semester break? Do you have a way to refer them to a home community type service so that they have that continuity?
Yeah, we definitely look at their home base and we can refer them to that service. And also, I just let them know that we can be available by phone too. You can actually schedule what we call phone counseling appointments. So if they're comfortable with us, if they've worked with a counselor, you know, the entire semester, and they just want to keep in touch maybe through email or through phone while they're home, maybe they don't want to start their case all over again at the local domestic violence or sexual assault agency there, they can still keep in touch with us over the summer and still at least talk to us on the phone or through email, and we definitely help with that communication. But we do make referrals to agencies in their area that could help.
So, Val, do you think that as a result of media attention that there's been some positive change and greater awareness of sexual assault? And can you give examples?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there has been. I think we've gotten quite a few more calls about people raising awareness, whether it be through, you know, certain types of walks. We were invited to a Painting the Campus Teal event. A lot of people are raising money through things. I think there's a dodgeball thing coming up, I remember, and a few other walks and things where they're raising money towards our agency, especially for this month that is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So I think people are, maybe a light is being shed a little bit more, and people are kind of seeing it, recognizing it, and wanting to kind of help out the agency that's helping out the clients. So that's great to see.
Yes.
Yeah, it is, and that kind of community engagement is so important, and as is the community education piece. And we have a couple of really good community education pieces actually to report on. WPBS, which is the local public TV station down in Watertown, has a special episode of Public Eye with Jeff Cole coming up on Monday, April 13th. This will be at 10 p.m. Jeff is going to look at the controversial and sensitive subject with a panel of local college officials from here in St. Lawrence County. And they're going to look at some of the realities that surround sexual assault on these 4 local campuses. And that program will be repeated on Sunday, April 19th at 8 a.m. And it'll be available on the WPBS website after that. And I'm really pleased to be able to report that AUW New York State is supporting that with an underwriting grant, as are the 2 local AUW branches in Jefferson and St. Lawrence counties. We've worked with WPBS and Jeff Cole before, most recently on a human trafficking special that he did back in January, which is another aspect that you guys deal with in terms of at Renewal House. So that's going to be a good public awareness, and it's a good in-depth look at exactly who the people are and some of the things that are happening here locally in St. Lawrence County.
And in addition, I understand that Laura Gray Rosendale is going to be at SUNY Canton on Monday, April 13th, the same day that episode of Public Eye will be aired. And she'll be reading from her book in the Kingston Theater that evening. She's an author and a sexual assault survivor who wrote a memorable book, College Girl, a memoir. She is otherwise published academically, but this is a very personal book about her own survival as a sexual assault victim. And this incidentally happened at Syracuse University, but it has a global appeal. So there was a recent article in the Syracuse New Times that is very enlightening, and I don't know if there's going to be any mention of that in your newsletter, but it's
Yep. We'll definitely be attending that event, and we have some events too that we'd like
Yes,
to mention.
absolutely. So as you know, April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and then we have National Volunteer Week is April 12th through the 18th. So we recognize volunteers, and it's a great time if people have been thinking about it to, make the call and come on in and see, what things that they might be able to help with. National Crime Victims' Rights Week is April 19th through the 25th. We have a Mom Prom, April 10th in Heuvelton. Denim Day, as we celebrate every year, is the 29th of April this year. And then upcoming, kind of a little later out, the first year, is going to be a music and arts festival that we're putting on at Bella Brook Vineyard on June 13th. So that should be a great time, and I'm hoping people are saving the date and will come out for part of that.
And one last question I have is that sometimes it takes years for a victim, for a survivor, to actually be able to speak about, to process and speak about their experiences, which is what happened with Laura Gray Rosendale. And what kinds of things can groups like Renewal House offer to people who went through this experience many years ago and are only now being able to talk about it?
Well, we definitely offer the peer-to-peer counseling, and that really covers, like I said, any age group at any time. It could have been 20 years since this assault has happened, and maybe they're just now processing it as people do at different rates. We can also, me being the legal advocate, I'm really interested in this type of area, but we can also let them know what their legal options are, if any, just so that they're aware. Oftentimes, maybe the statute of limitations has not run out yet, and maybe they are ready now to press charges. That just happened with a client that both Val and I were working with. Actually, she was a victim from maybe about 5 years ago and had decided to come forth, and actually she was living in a different county at the time also. So we made the appropriate calls to figure out how she could best report that and to who, and we went and accompanied her through that, and Val's still helping her.
Absolutely, and it's never too late. I mean, people, even though they might just now be processing it, it's not something if they were to call the office and say, it's been so many years, I'm just now looking for help, then we'll make that appointment as soon as we can get them in, and we'll talk to them just like we would, someone that might have been, recently assaulted. It's still something that they need help with a healing process. They're reaching out, so we would be there, absolutely.
I was talking with a faculty member at a college in New York State, but not in the North Country, a while ago. And her institution had been one of the institutions that the federal government had identified as having a problem. And she was telling me that once that story hit the national media, that people on campus began to get emails and phone calls from alums, maybe back in the 1960s and 1970s, who wanted to talk about what had happened to them. And it was the first time that they had ever talked about it or contacted anybody on the college. And the college really had to figure out how they were going to deal with that, because it was no longer that invisible crime that has been, for so many decades in some cases. So this is really an issue that colleges are struggling with right now. And states all over the country are also working with it. I know there's a bill right now that Connecticut is looking at about a yes means yes positive consent bill. We just went through the New York State budget process, and there was a yes means yes piece in the budget, which has now been taken out and is actually going to have to be put on the floor for debate in both houses. But this whole problem of consent is something that everybody struggles with. This isn't just something that, it happens on the college campuses, but everybody struggles with it. So how do you, as educators, when you're going into schools and going into colleges, how do you handle the question of consent and what it is and how to get it?
I think first I always start, especially being the child advocate, I'm definitely in the schools more than campuses. I always start with the age, because I think it's a great place to start. If you're not the age in New York State of 17 or older, then you cannot legally give consent, whether you feel like you are ready or not.
And that's for males or females.
Right, and I think that's a big surprise. I mean, I know a lot of students, who are getting ready to go off to even college, aren't really sure, or even going up from middle school to high school didn't know that, and I think that's important. Then comes the piece of, if drugs or alcohol are involved, if you are of age, but that's still a factor, where that could become a problem if you are, intoxicated or under the influence and aren't able to make that decision. If you feel like you're pressured into it, all those things that people might consider gray areas that really aren't. Consent is very clear. There aren't really a lot of gray areas, although, people can say, well, how much is too much to drink? How do I really know? Well, you need to make sure it's a really clear yes. Otherwise, it's a no.
Well, and that's also complicated, of course, by the fact that they may be underage drinkers on top of everything else.
Absolutely.
And so that makes you even more reluctant to come forward because you think, well, this thing has happened to me, but if I say I'm going to be in double trouble.
Yes.
Exactly. So there are lots of things that go into these calculations, and that's why it's so important to have counselors and educators like yourselves and your cohorts at Renewal House who are only literally a phone call away. Absolutely. And I'm sure that you have hundreds of stories to tell us about all of the various combinations of complicated circumstances that people have found themselves in, and yet there is a path, there is a way out, isn't there?
Yes.
If you talk to somebody who's been properly educated and trained.
And I think sometimes people are definitely stuck in a situation, they've been living it, they've already tried, and by the time they reach us, they feel like there's nothing left, but hey, it's the last-ditch effort sometimes, and I'm just calling you to see if there's anything, and from the outside perspective, there's usually something, some avenue we can do, and go and help them with and provide them options so that they can feel like there is a way out, so they don't have to feel alone. We are available 24/7, so people can call us no matter what time, so and we'll be there.
I would just like to add that, speak to the underage drinking piece to that, is that I've noticed that with the SUNY colleges have now come out with these new sexual assault policies, and they actually have a portion of that speaks to the underage drinking aspect of it, and they can't be, someone who's reporting a rape won't be penalized if they were underage drinking at that time. And so, like I said, as advocates, it's great that that piece is there, but that's where, as advocates, we can come in to make sure that piece is being enforced also, because that has shifted, I think, in recent years, so it may take a little while for the administration and everybody involved, all parties involved on the campus, to really remember that piece. So that's where advocates come in handy and can look it up for you and can arm the student with information and help them.
Well, and not only that, but the fact that you aren't employed by the college means you have a different priority and a different,
Yes.
You're not there to kind of maybe protect your employer, you're there
Absolutely.
to protect the victim, and that's
It's all
so
about
critical.
empowering that victim,
Yeah.
absolutely giving them back what was taken and making sure their healing process can start and whatever needs to happen happens.
So, ladies, thank you again for coming in. It has been a fascinating discussion. This never, unfortunately, it never goes away. So we have to keep talking about it.
Yes, thank you
But
for having us.
it's nice to hear these glimmers of hope that we're making progress, and
Absolutely.
that there are things that are changing, and they're changing for the better. And that, at some point, maybe we can get the numbers down here in St. Lawrence County, and then we can certainly get the victims the help they need, and you guys the money you need to be able to do that work.
That would be great.
So if you have time to volunteer to Renewal House, they will take you for any amount of time, and whether it's lawn care
We are not
or
choosy.
anything else, they'll be
Absolutely.
happy to have you. And of course, you're always willing to take donations.
Absolutely.
And and then for people who have a real passion for this work, there's the training, and there's the becoming a volunteer who's able to answer the phones and actually do some of this important work.
I think after the training, you'd be a certified rape crisis counselor along with us.
Great, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bess. These conversations are a production here of North Country Matters in the studios of WCKN on the campus of Clarkson University. This show is a civic collaboration between the St. Lawrence County branch of the American Association of University Women, the St. Lawrence County League of Women Voters, and the Communication and Media Department here at Clarkson. Until next time, remember, our North Country matters.